All right, everybody. I am back. This is the conclusion of Podcaster Month. I've been having on some of the pod family, and we're going to conclude with a man who should go without introduction, but I'm going to do it anyway. He's been on every podcast but mine.
Well, no, we can't say that.
Yeah, I might have to just erase this. That's just so you can keep the streak going. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Zack Deuce. Zack Deuce.
How are you doing?
Not bad, good sir. Not bad at all. You know, I'm looking at as I'm looking at you right now. For those of you listening, this is currently audio only. You can keep your video up; it's fine.
Okay.
But the thing is, I'm just letting the people know that what I'm about to make reference to, which is, I'm looking simultaneously at Zack right now, and I'm also looking at the top of his Twitter page, and I'm seeing 75 podcasts that he's currently. I think he's actually on 6 podcasts while he's on my podcast right now, which is amazing. I don't know how you do that.
I don't have enough time in the world. I mean, the trick is never to have your own podcast, just be a professional guest. And then you have all the fun and none of the responsibility.
And you tell me this now, almost 8 years in?
I would have told you 8 years ago had I known. I've only been involved with podcasting for a year just because I got sucked into it by friends, and it's so much fun. I wish I had been doing this a long time ago.
Yeah, but now it's amazing how this has turned into what it's turned into. Obviously, the cost of entry is a -$5 at this point, because we essentially nowadays everybody. Obviously you use equipment. I use equipment, but if you really think about it, some places you can just use your phone and the various other things. But you actually, as we know, are a radio broadcaster.
I am. That's my, we'll call it profession, because I don't know what I'd do if I actually had a real job, but I've been doing that. I actually got involved with that in high school. And I loved it. I just started as a board op, the person who pressed the button for like local sports games, Red Sox, football, everything like that. And then it progressed from there through college. That's where I actually started playing music and fell in love with it even more. And now I do that, 5 days a week and occasionally on weekends when we go out and do live events.
Now, hold it a second. I do this with someone once they come on the first time because I am fascinated by origin stories. Now, when people do anything in the arts, radio, television, this, that, podcasting, whatever, I'm curious because it's such a weird thing to do. I mean, it seems like there's a lot of us, right? But when you look at the general public, there's not a lot of us. It just looks like there are. So we were a different type of broadcasters, or a different breed, I should say.
Yeah.
What in the
different breed was the word.
Yeah, exactly. What in the blue heck got you into? Because you said you were doing it. You do it in college, but you had already had years of doing it already. Bored out. What made you decide you wanted to be on the other side of the microphone? Because I know people that will work the board and they wouldn't even. They might chop the microphone in half so they don't accidentally get on the microphone. So why did you decide to become a broadcaster? When did that start? That
started, well, back in high school, I did a little bit of theater drama, and I enjoyed it. It wasn't anything major. And then when I got to college, I already had a little bit of the board opping experience in radio, but I went and did some acting classes. And when I got to college, I went, wow, these people are far more talented than I am. I can't sing, which they're going to make me do. So I guess I'm not going to pursue drama. And I got more involved with radio. Also, while in high school, I worked at a small, we'll say attraction. It's not necessarily a theme park, but it's an attraction up here in New Hampshire. And I would be a tour guide. And I would entertain the tourists. We had scripts that we would say, we would memorize as we brought people through different houses or whatever it may be. And I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed interacting with people, whether they be local or they're tourists just coming to the area. I had a lot of fun doing that. And with radio, I got a taste for that while just playing music. It's a weird feeling to know that you're a part of somebody's life and you may not even know them, that people tune in for you every day because you're always there and you're entertaining them with the content of the radio, but also your personality, that you're always there. And I'll have people come up to me and remind me of something that I said, and I have to scratch my head and go, did I tell them this or did I talk about it? Because I don't know how you know that about me.
Believe me, I can relate to that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, you're comedian, so you use a lot of life lessons and everything that you're out there talking in front of people.
Yeah, and with the other podcast, the original podcast, the one that's going to be 8 years old, this one's going to be 3. The one that's 8 years old, you'd be surprised that you say things, and because you do it every day, I was doing it like 2 or 3 times a week at the time. Now, it's a little different, but you forget what you said. Like you were just saying, they come up and something, and it's like, yeah, you just heard it. I said that 6 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
You just heard that I said that 5 years ago, and you're gracious, but it's like I know I said that, but I don't remember it. I'm glad you enjoyed it, but I don't. Did that really happen? The only time I remember is if it's a story of something that actually happened, then I can recount it. But if it's a joke that I added to something, I don't remember. I did that show 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, 8 years ago. Now, when you're doing radio, this is what I'm curious about. Now, I always ask people this because I know a couple of guys who did radio in my hometown, Philadelphia, and they did music shows.
Mm-hmm.
But I could tell one guy, I'm not going to use his name because he's still in Philly and I don't want to get him in trouble with his former boss. He didn't even necessarily like the music. It was like the music was breaking up his flow. He just wanted to talk. And it was like, he was having this great time, and he was having these great interactions with the guests and this thing. I was like, yeah, ha, 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 ha. All right, here's Led Zeppelin.
I got to play like so many minutes of music an hour. All right, fine.
I remember just being a guest and I'm looking at him and his voice, he's such a pro. His voice is like, yeah, it is now time for this song. And his face is like, sweet God, no.
The voice is saying one thing, but you can read his soul is being crushed. Like, I got to introduce Van Halen again. Oh,
I'm looking right across him and he goes, here's Cherry Pie.
Here's the one song by Warrant.
It's just, but the people at home, man, he's really into it. No, he's not into it. Now, were you a straight, just get right to the music? I mean, how long were your breaks between, not breaks, I guess to me, technically the music is the break because I listen to the shows for the person. I can hear the music whenever I want. But do you feel like the music was interrupting your flow with the audience or your storytelling?
No, not really. With the radio stations I've been on, I've never done like a talk format or a morning show or anything like that, where there is far more talking involved. All the radio stations I've ever been on are very music driven. So it is always progressing forward. You definitely want to relate to your listener. And so if we're talking about something, it is relatable, whether it is a local event or local content, music content with what you're playing, personal content with something that happened to me or what I'm looking forward to do. You always find something to relate to them. So I've never felt that the music is interrupting me. I feel like I kind of interrupt the music in a way because, I don't necessarily view myself as the reason people are tuning in. I think people are tuning in because the station I'm on is a classic rock station and people like what they grew up with. It's kind of a nostalgia feel that bring them back, and they like either what they grew up with or what they were listening to, that their parents were listening to, whatever it may be. So I'm there to talk and relate, but I don't want to be there and talking for multiple minutes. I certainly can, which has been the great thing about podcasting and talking with friends that I haven't seen for a number of years, not just because of the current situation of the world, but we all live states apart or countries apart, whatever it may be. So I've never felt like the music is interrupting me. I always feel like I don't want to take up too much of these people's time because I know they love listening to music. I don't know if they like me. I mean, my mom likes me because she tunes in, but everyone's mom listens, right? Maybe.
That's not what she DM'd me. She said I can't stand him. But
Mom, come
that's
on.
not nice. And I was not going to bring you on for saying that. I'm still going to be me and Zach. That was wrong. No surprise from you, Mom. Yeah. Do you take a lot of callers on your show on the radio program?
When we do contesting, I mean, we do the days, at least for our station, the days of specific request hours. We have them, but anyone can call at any point. I typically do an afternoon show. I'm in, just because I'm on the air doesn't mean I don't have other things to do. So I'm there all day from a 9 to 5 and then usually a little bit later. And if people want to call in, they can call in. I have listeners that just like to call in and chat, and I'll talk with them. I love hearing from listeners. And you have a certain number of primary listeners, or P1s as they are normally called in the radio industry, and you are definitely part of their lives, and they're a part of my life as well, because they're there and I know they're there. I may not always hear from them, but they will call in, and I could go a couple of days without hearing from a certain listener. I could go weeks or months. And then there's people that call not every day, but they do call frequently, whether it's for contesting or it's just because they want to make a request or interact with me, which I don't know why they want to, but they do sometimes.
And that is interesting, because I know that, especially like summertime, when people are really driving around with the top down or heading out, where I used to live, Philly, heading down to the shore. A lot of times it's the baseball announcer, or like you said, the classic rock person, because you already like that stuff. You like those songs for years. There's going to be no time when you listen to a classic rock station where you're going, oh, not this one. For the most part, because because to become classic rock, literally almost has to have a pretty universal appeal for the most part. And but what's the difference between how did you feel between college radio and now? Does it feel much different to you?
Oh yeah, drastically different. College radio was it was certainly fun. I enjoy my job now. I have a lot of fun with it. College radio was like the Wild West, where you could practically do anything, play almost anything, at least at my college radio, where if you had a specialty show, you could play anything within that specialty show. If you want to do a specific country show or a top whatever show, we had a guy who did an all ska show, a guy who did an all punk show. But for the most part, we had to play 60%, which is new music when it was first released, and then, or 40%, I forget. It was split 60-40. And it was, I think, maybe it was 40% new, 60% whatever you wanted. And that was the basic demo. And you could make and pick and choose whatever you want. We did have a music director who would get the new music and put it in, and then it would be there for a few months or whatever, and then they'd replace it with something different. Then you could still play that album, but it wasn't new anymore. So you had to filter that to the 60%. With terrestrial professional broadcast radio, you're much more not limited, but concentrated on your delivery and your focus, because college radio, you're not really a business. You're not being paid. You don't have to continue to operate and pay employees, but in the real world, you do. So with a classic rock station, some radio stations, a part of the bigger companies, may only run with a 400 song playlist, and that's it. And that just rotates, and you can burn through that. Other radio stations are far broader, and they go over 1,000 songs in their playlist. And so it could have a much slower burn. We're kind of in the middle, in the 700 to 800 range. And some of it are songs that you'll hear every day and a half, and some you don't hear for 2 weeks. So we have a much more broader spec than some radio stations, but it's all still focused to classic rock of music that people will know. Because if the average person, if they hear stuff that they don't know, they'll go to a different station. I don't know what this is. Click. And you don't want to lose that, because that's a potential business, listener going into a client's business. You want to keep them, because if nobody's listening, the advertisers aren't going to spend money because clearly nobody's going to hear their message.
So have you done remotes?
Yep, we do live remotes. Everything slowed down when the pandemic started because just nobody was doing anything, and a lot. Well, there's reasons. We're not. We don't have to talk about that, but everything for everybody slowed down. Luckily, we're a small company. There's 2 radio stations. The classic rock station I'm on, but then I also program a light AC station, and I'm not on that station. But we were very lucky to keep everybody and just continue to broadcast. And for a while, I went about a year without doing a live remote, which was very unfortunate. One, because that's extra income to go out and do an event, just like you going out and being a comedian on stage. Hey, that's a paycheck for you. And then all of a sudden, oh, this isn't happening. Yeah, no, it's going to take longer than 2 weeks. It's going to take a while. And this summer was very good. We were out. Business seemed to be doing well, not just for us, but for everybody. So we were out doing remotes and broadcasting and having fun. We have one coming up in a couple of weeks. It's going to be the final fair, because everybody loves fairs up in New England. So it's a final fair up here in New Hampshire, and we'll be out hanging out at that for all 3 days. But we'll split it up, and we'll have the different staff different days.
So it'll be a while before the second annual Zack Licks the Listeners.
Yeah, that was the first one. Let me tell you, was amazing. I didn't feel good for like 4 days after that, but whoo, it was a good time.
I was going to tell you, man, you can't do it you're going to have to wait a while to do the second one. It's a little dangerous right now.
Yep. I know. One of my favorite desserts was doorknobs, and I can't lick any of them now. This is the worst.
Now now when you started to do become the guests on all these podcasts, because now, I mean, I went to your Podchaser page.
Oh yeah.
And then of course I came across the 4 shows, and now that's what I wanted to get to. Now, how because you're doing this, this is your job, this is your career here. You're doing lots of broadcasting, and then you're popping in. That's like Gordon Ramsay going, you know what? I think I'm going to go into this restaurant and start cooking. But you have your own restaurant. Doesn't matter. I'm cooking anyway.
Feel like cooking over here. Feel like something different.
So what made you slide into to doing the podcasting?
So podcasting came up with my friends Jeremy and Mike, who I've known for 13 or 14 years. Met them online. I'm a geek and a gamer, and I used to play World of Warcraft back in the day. And so met them online, never knew them in real life for a number of years. Then finally did. And Jeremy, like many people, started the podcast when the pandemic was starting. It was something that he and a lot of people wanted to do, but just never had the time or the ability to do it. And then all of a sudden you've got all these people staying at home, and well, what are we going to do? Well, I want to talk to my friends. What if we just record it and put it out there? And if people listen, great. But if they don't, at least we're getting together and we're having fun. And Jeremy and Mike started it with their Jeremy's very good friend Mark, who I've only known since the podcast, but he's a great guy. He's the typical dad joke sniper. He comes out of nowhere with a dad joke. Oh, he's so freaking good. I love him. And they started just with themselves, and they started having some guests on here and there. And at one point they invited me on, and I said, yeah, sure, I'd love to join you guys. And that's what started that's actually why I got Twitter, was to originally just start promoting the podcast. And from there, I continued to get involved with other friends that I knew that had podcasts. My wife's friend Rick is on Effin' Cultured, and that's both Neatcast and Effin' Cultured are they're kind of pop culture centered. Neatcast does offbeat news, sports. They each have their own segments. Jeremy does news. Mark does sports. Mike is a big cryptid guy. He loves spooky stuff. So he always talks about spooky stuff. And then they try to do something interactive with the listeners. Effin' Cultured is Rick's friend, Bobby, who I still haven't met. Great guy. Their friend, Griff, and Rick are the typical three that do that. They talk about pop culture and movies, and they have a lot of fun. It is definitely not safe for work kind of podcast, and they just let loose. And so I've been on with them a few times. And then during the course of just listening to podcasts, which I love discovering new podcasts, I came across Podcasters Assemble, which is it's like a open public forum kind of podcast. And if you've ever seen I Love the 80s, I Love the 90s shows, it's just like that with a bunch of people submitting audio, but it's about a movie hype series. And it started years ago with the term Podcasters Assemble. It was with a play on Avengers Assemble as they were counting down to Endgame with the MCU. And so they knocked out like all the MCU movies in a month. And then from there, they've covered Star Wars. They're doing James Bond. And now we're going to be doing Ghostbusters with Afterlife coming out. So that's a fun one where I can just record that on my own and submit the audio, and then they'll edit it together. Although I've been roped into editing this season, so I will actually not be just having fun and doing none of the work. I will be having fun and doing some of the work to help keep some of the other guys sane that have been editing this stuff for like years. So I like to be involved and help out. And some weeks I'll do a podcast. Sometimes I don't. It really depends on who wants to tolerate me. I just have a lot of fun doing it and meeting new people. It honestly, it reminds me of when I used to do a local music show for the radio station. I don't have the time to do it anymore, so I've passed it off to one of our part-timers. But man, I've met so many great people, not just incredible musicians, but just people who are awesome, just down to earth, relatable, kind-hearted. Some of the best people were just independent musicians. And podcasting, the indie podcast world, the pod family really reminds me of that. Even if they're not indie podcasters, just every podcaster I've ever talked to or guested on, they're so great. I love it. It's a great community.
It is very, very. See, that's the thing I noticed. Also, we have a very, very similar way of describing certain things. This being one of them with the podcasting community, because it was really, really interesting how people are just not jealous. You know what I mean? It's just they're actually happy for you. And it's a weird thing because in the comedy world, in the beginning, everybody starts out doing open mic nights and all that kind of stuff. And then, people start to ascend at the same level. And then some people will take off a little bit. And it starts off, and it's very similar to college basketball, where everybody, is doing it for the love of the game, because, some people are not going to the NBA, but still and because podcasting as it is now, it's still a baby. I know it's been around for a while, but it's still a baby. And I want it to kind of stay like that. I would love it to just stay like it is now, where people, when, like when I see somebody go insane, I'm happy for them. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I had more than him last year. And now, oh, hell no. I don't get jealous at all. And I haven't heard anybody that is jealous of me. And I really just like that part of it. It's a great thing to see. And it's like you were saying, it's a great community to be a part of.
It's great. And I don't see the numbers, but sometimes Bobby from FN Cultured will say the numbers, in a group chat, or Jeremy will over at the Neatcast of how many downloads we're doing. And we'll see the numbers go up and down. And it's always good when you get, a little bump, but you have consistent numbers. And that's the ideal, is that you're consistent. Everybody wants the dream job is, oh, I will be able to do this one thing that I love and I'll get paid to do it. Luckily, I have that in radio. So my job, my dream job, I'm set with. Podcasting, I enjoy, and if it ever leads to something, that's great. It's not my focus, but I will gladly always be involved and help push the podcast I'm involved in. I try to discover more podcasts each and every week, and try to just build my knowledge and understanding of podcast and content out there, but also try to just throw it out there because you never know, anyone who writes a review or shares a podcast, you may help somebody find their next favorite podcast, that whether they're just getting into it or they've got their staple of 10 that they listen to every week. And then they're like, oh, I can fit another one in here. Oh, I really like this one where they're talking about how much these people hate their job. I hate my job too. Oh, it's cathartic. This is great. Whatever it may be. That's my other part that I really like. I like listening to new podcasts. I have my staple and I try to find at least 3 a week that I've never heard, and then try to write a review and rate them and share them. If I can do one every day, I've done that before, but if I can get to at least 3 a week, I'm happy.
Dark side, Zach. You want to do a podcast. Cut it out. It's only a matter of time.
Just a matter of time.
We already have our claws in you, Zach.
It is, but I am helping out. I am doing for Podcasters Assemble. I am editing the spin-off series where it's called Podcasters Disassembled.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a more traditional podcast, kind of, similar to what you do and what I do with Neatcast and Effing Cultured, where it's 4 of us and we talk about a movie that didn't fit into what Podcasters Assemble talked about. So they covered Star Wars, they covered the Skywalker saga. Our first episode, which I'm editing now, we talked about Rogue One because it wasn't part of the overall theme. So those I will be, I guess that can be my podcast, but that's like monthly. So I think I have been roped into it I was voluntold to do it. So I think I'm already doing it without knowing it.
2023, the launch of the Zack Deuce show. It's only a matter of time.
So yeah,
I can see you now. I can see you now recording a podcast while you're driving home from the radio station.
I've got
driving with Zach.
I've got 25 minutes. I can crank this out right now. It's okay.
Yeah.
We'll do it.
That's about right. 25 minutes is just about right, which is hilarious.
Yeah. So some people go for I like both. I mean, I like the short ones that are a good commute that's about a half hour. Mm-hmm. But I also sometimes I like the ones that I'm going, all right, 90 minutes, that's a good one because I can have that on while I'm at work, just plugging away with whatever I'm doing, scheduling music or whatever. I got it and I can listen to it. And everyone's different. Everyone has a different take of what they want. There's no perfect number or length for a podcast.
That's the thing I kept trying to tell some of the new people. Hey man, what's the perfect length? You go until it stops to 10 minutes before it stops being interesting. That's what I tried to tell people. Hey man, yep. If it stops being interesting at 28 minutes, then that's when you stop talking. Sometimes it'll be 90 minutes. It's not a sitcom where you have to put in 23 minutes plus commercials. It's not like that. So, I mean, but if you have to, I mean, obviously you're consuming a lot of different ones, but most people I know tend to have a genre that they like or a style or a type. And so I'm assuming you have one of those. I mean, do you have a genre that you like, that you just dive into? Because there's always, you said you estimate people have a staple of 10, but if they have a staple of 10, usually 7 of them
are of one
specific genre. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I would say for me, my main focus is definitely geek related. Mm-hmm. But anything, it can be video games, it can be movies, it can be music, really anything that, I guess, and geek is such a broad term by itself, but that's what most of mine fall under. But I've recently discovered true crime over the past couple months, and that really has captivated me as well. There's some really good ones that I like. I'm not getting any ideas. I'm just interested in them. Okay, don't judge me.
I'm just going to say right now to the people listening, I've never actually physically met Zach. So I can't testify against him, and I want to let you know, Zach, right now. I know how to keep my mouth shut, and there you go.
You're good.
I got to ask you this now, because that's me too. I mean, I've been diving into a lot of stuff on Wondery, Business Wars, and then Dr. Death, and these kind of things. And I've been getting into the true crime thing myself, and it's amazing how, man, I was listening to one and I was driving down the street and it was great. I'm like, this is captivating. I'm enjoying this. I don't like the fact that these things happened, obviously,
Mhm.
but then this knucklehead starts getting a little bit too descriptive about what happened to the people. I'm going, come on, man. I had to hit that skip button a couple times. And then the gore, and they took the hammer okay, skip.
Luckily, I have not found any that are that graphic with the gore. They give a general, I guess, overview and stories of what happened. Whether some of them are here in America, but I really enjoy the ones that are from outside of America. One, because I do enjoy hearing about other parts of the world, and two, most of those accents are very sexy. I don't care if it's a woman or a man. You've got an accent. I am captivated. Whatever you're talking about. So it doesn't matter the content, but luckily, yeah, none of them have been too gory. It's kind of like Forensics Files. I always get concerned when my wife is watching a lot of Forensics Files going, are you taking notes? No, you're just captivated by the story of what happened. At least that's what I tell myself at night, is that she's just enjoying the content.
Oh, hold on, I just got a DM. Tell him to stand by the window. Why am I telling them to stand by the? Wait a second.
Oh boy, there is a window behind me. Oh jeez.
How is the wife and the kid? How are they dealing with all of this broadcasting, Buster?
Luckily, my wife works in the same industry, separate company, so she completely understands the radio aspect of it. And we did used to work for the same company for a number of years, and my stations were purchased by a different private company, and we use each other as a sounding board for venting or ideas or troubleshooting, whatever it may be. So that's been very beneficial, where you can, not that you want to come home and talk shop, but it is great when you can come home and you can, when you need to, just let everything out, and the other person knows completely and understands 100%. Not that if they didn't, or she didn't, or I didn't, that it wouldn't mean any less, but it certainly does help that she knows exactly what I mean when I go, I can't believe, that the Q1 came back and we're down 3, this many of the Q. She's going to know what that means. Not that we really actually ever say that, because that's real boring. It's not like, not like anything, but it helps. The kid, he's still a little young. He actually just turned 3 this past weekend. So he knows what we do. He hears us on the radio. He can now differentiate us from other men and women on radio, whereas it used to be every man on the radio was daddy and every female was mommy. Now that's daddy, that's not mommy, that is mommy, that's not daddy. So he enjoys it. He loves seeing the station vehicles whenever we take them home. He loves them. He has a lot of fun just crawling all over them. So he enjoys it. He doesn't 100% understand, but he seems to accept it. We don't have to change our jobs, which is good. We needed his approval. I mean, need to keep the kid happy.
Yeah, this is one of the things I was joking with. Last night I had Billy Dees on the show, another broadcaster, and one of the jokes I used to do with him all the time is that whenever I have him on the show, that Billy Dees and I smooth voice the audience to death. And I think that's happening, right? I think we're smooth voicing the audience to death right now. And when you told me that just now your wife is in broadcast, I'm just imagining the two broadcasters talking to each other at home.
Back and forth.
I understand that you want the butter. As a matter of fact, I do want the butter. And I want the butter right now. We'll be back after this.
We'll be back in about 5 minutes because it doesn't take long. It's a quick commercial break.
I just imagining your son. Son, would you like to play with the toys? As a matter of fact, Father, I would like to play with the toys. But as a matter of fact,
just so properly spoken. I don't know where he learned all this.
I was wondering if my teacher would allow me to color more.
We played with water paint today. I said I wanted stickers, but water paint was acceptable.
It's just it's really just an interesting thing because I a lot of times when the parents are doing something, obviously even at a young age, the child, obviously you said the child picks up on it, the child sees and overhears, and there's going to come a point in time where Zach Triple's going to want to do some radio, and
Yep.
so what do you think? What would you say to him? He's 17 years old. He's done some high school radio. He wants to go to college radio. You give him the thumbs up or the thumbs down? I mean, I know you want to tell him what to do. Obviously, he's becoming an adult at this point, but would you be encouraging of it?
I would be encouraging of whatever my son wants to do. I mean, granted, if he wants to be poor the rest of his life, he can get into radio, sure. But we have a lot of fun doing it. Yeah. And that's always a joke. Radio doesn't pay well, and it's you certainly can make a living out of it. But it also depends on what you're doing. If you're on the sales side of things, there's a commission. So the harder you work, the more you can earn. Typically on the programming side, production side, you're a set salary. So it doesn't matter how many hours you work, you're making the same amount unless you go out and do extra events like remote broadcasts. But whatever my son wants to do, both me and my wife will be supporting him, whatever he wants to do with his life. He's going to be an adult, and that's a little ways away. I know that we keep being told that we're going to blink and then it'll happen. And I get it because the past 3 years have certainly gone by rather quickly. But whatever he wants to, if he wants to get into radio, sure, more than welcome to. It's a lot of fun. If he wants to stay around here, great. If he wants to go and get out of here and go to a larger market, go ahead. I never had that inkling. I grew up in a very small town. My high school was comprised of 4 towns, and I graduated with 47 kids between those 4 towns. So I'm used to small town, small market radio. I've never wanted to go anywhere else. I like it. He may want to get the hell out of here and go someplace. Go.
Whoops, just got another DM. Dad, I'm 8 now. You blinked. What the hell is...
Shit. When did this
Stop
happen?
blinking. You better get some of that Visine, buddy.
I sit down for a podcast and my kid grows, 5 years. I swear he was in bed when I left.
You better put some Visine. You blink a couple more times, he's going to drive there to join the show. He'll be 40.
He'll do a much better job than me. It'll be great.
Now, what was the deal with that horror stories that you were telling on the podcast? Where in the world were those coming from? Are you writing those?
Oh gosh, no. So the joke is, whenever I've been on Neatcast and I've been involved with any of the spooky stuff, that I just live surrounded by cryptids and just spooky stuff. And the stuff that I told were real experiences that I can't really explain. And some seem to be paranormal. Some seem to be alien-ish. We don't know. Some were just unexplainable I don't know what that was, but there was weird noises or there was something here in the woods with me and I can't really explain what it was. So it was just something that I figured, all right, well, we're telling spooky stories. I've got some that I've experienced throughout my years of growing up and as an adult. I can share that. So yeah, it wasn't anything that I've written. I'm not that creative. I'm not. I read liners, on the air in between Zeppelin tunes. I'm not that creative, but it's I guess it's my way of helping with content, I guess, because I don't always feel like I'm as funny or as quick-witted as some of the other guys when I'm on any of the podcasts. I enjoy whatever podcast I'm on, but I always feel that there are people that fill their roles very well. And I will fill whatever role I need to. I'm probably not the best at it, but I will do my best to fill the role.
Do you listen to any kind of paranormal shows at all? I mean, were you a fan of Art Bell?
No, I haven't listened to any paranormal shows. There are a couple conspiracy podcasts I have been listening to, and that's where I also enjoy those. I haven't gotten into as many as I have with the true crime, but there's been a couple that I've come across and gone, oh wow, I like their content. I like how it's changing and doing different topics every week, different weird things that are again unexplained. And those, again, the unexplained is fascinating to me, whether it's because I've had weird experiences over the years of unexplained instances and events, or it's just the human brain wanting to reach beyond your understanding of life and the world as it is and hoping that there's something else out there. I don't know. I've always been interested in what else could be and what else is out there.
Now, when you look out the window, are you in the big city or the city? Are you out there in the? Is it really dark around the house with trees and?
It's very dark around the house. We're technically rural in New Hampshire where we are. We're not super far from everything. There are neighbors I can see through the woods with their lights on at night. I can walk to my one neighbor's house. It doesn't take long. We're not super far away from everybody. My dad wanted to move where he's a very big outdoorsman. He was a full-time guide, hunting, fishing, hiking, and he just wanted to go the heck away and be off grid and do his own thing. I never was that kid that wanted to be in the middle of nowhere. I don't want to be in downtown Boston, but I'm okay not being in the middle of nowhere. And right now, we're off by ourselves. We got, between 1 and 2 acres of land, that is ours. And, that's good for us right now. If we move in the future, yeah, we may, but we're away from the hustle and bustle of the big city.
Did you go to the parades from one of the 45 Super Bowls?
I did not go to the parades. I was very happy during those 45 Super Bowl wins, but I never attended. It was something that could I go down there? Do I really want to deal with Boston people? I mean, it's I love Boston and I hate Boston. I love visiting. I don't want to live there. It's like any city. When I've been to New York, I love going to New York. I don't want to live in New York. I don't want to do it. I love visiting places. It's a lot of fun, but I like where I live.
Well, as a person born and raised in Philadelphia, I really enjoyed you saying slightly negative things about Boston and New York. I would like to know if you could repeat those for me, please.
Sure. Hold on. New York smells really bad, and Yankees suck. And Boston, it sometimes smells really bad, and I can't get from one side to the other without freaking taking the T, because you go one direction, then oh no, your road goes that direction now because they don't know how to build freaking roads in Boston.
Yes.
Is that good? Does that help?
Yes, that's good. Not enough profanity, but yes.
Okay. Well, it's weird. I self-edit myself, but I don't. I always do it with radio, but then when I'm not on radio, sometimes I self-edit and sometimes I don't. I can't. My brain doesn't work right. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, I know it's like when you have the machine in your head, because I know that if I'm doing something and it's on television, that part of my brain just goes, we're not cursing, and that's it. It just shuts everything down, and it always just kind of restructures whatever's coming out of my mouth. Someone will ask me something that I know would lead to something that, with the words that were actually there, but there's a machine in there that goes, and we're not going to be cursing for the next 7.5 minutes. There's no chance of cursing, and we're going to go with heck and darn, and we stay in the heck darn area. So I get that. So
every swear you do is $10,000 for a fine from the FCC. Let's not do that. Okay.
Yeah, there's a 0%. As soon as I just default on other people's shows to not even approaching cursing. I just don't even. I mean, I'll be honest, but I really don't curse that much to be honest in real life anyway. But it's a zero. But I always react as if my mother's sitting there or my grandmother's. sitting there and I'm going,
Yep.
yeah, words that aren't coming out would be those. Because I know, because you have the kid running around. You can't be F-bomb, yeah.
Oh, yep. Yeah. And
F and M.
definitely have to. We have certainly changed our amount of, yeah, again, not that we swore a lot around here,
Mm-hmm.
but every once in a while an expletive is needed to get a point across or just to describe something. And once you have the kid, you go, all right, well, they're starting to pick up on stuff and we have to adjust accordingly. Still, every once in a while, one may slip out if you hit your head or something, and then you're kind of partway through it, and then your brain starts to flip through the Rolodex going, what can I turn this into? Oh, fire truck.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I said that one, but sure, thanks, buddy. Here's your fire truck.
I just, well, that's going to be hilarious when the little one goes that way. Fire truck.
Just all weird like that. It's so weird. He's been saying fire truck, but weird emphasis on the wrong syllables is really bad.
So, sir, we just heard your son say fire truck. We know what you meant to say. We know exactly what curse word you were trying not to say, sir. We're disgusted. Cut it out. We don't want to hear those disgusting language. We don't want to hear that.
We're writing you a demerit, not your son, but you. Oh, man.
That'll be so. But so okay. So now we got the radio show. We have 4 podcasts and counting that that you're working on.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just because I'm looking in. You said geek. Before I let you go, I got to find out what you geek out on.
Oh boy. What I geek out on. Well, behind me is the Starship Enterprise. You can see the diagram of that. So I'm a big Star Trek sci-fi, I guess I'll say geek. I grew up with 4 television channels. So the Star Trek The Next Generation was like a weekly thing.
Jean-Luc Picard.
Of the USS Enterprise. And I've just always enjoyed sci-fi. I enjoy fantasy as well. I'd rather watch sci-fi and read fantasy. And but I got into video games at a very young age because we didn't grow up around, I don't know, arcades. So if you ever went to an arcade, it was a ways away. And my parents figured out, we could save money if we just bought him a Nintendo and we didn't have to drive him anywhere and put quarters in these machines. So I started playing video games from a young age and I've always just enjoyed it. So for me, geek culture, geek interests, again, it's a broad term. It can be a multitude of things. And I just enjoy all different aspects, whether it's the music side, the video side, the reading side, the podcasting, talking, interaction side. I like a lot of it. And I can't think of a specific one that I am diehard for. It has to be Star Trek. It can't be Star Wars. No, I love Star Wars as well. Well, it has to be video games. Well, no, I don't play as many video games anymore. All right, reading. Well, I do have a lot of comic books and art books, but I haven't read those in a while. Well, also because family and in between podcasting and real job, that's when you try to find time to do all this. So I don't know. Long story short, I have no idea. I just kind of use geek as a label of what my interests are and what I enjoy talking about, which is a variety of things. There's a couple different podcasts that have I've been in contact with that have said, "Oh, what do you want to talk about?" And I said, "I don't care. What do you want to talk about? I will talk about practically anything, even if it's something that I don't really know. I would love to do a little bit of research on my own and then learn a lot while I'm there talking with you about it." That's been a lot of fun.
And that's very, very, but that sounds very, very similar to asking your spouse where you want to go to eat.
What do you want for dinner? I don't care. You want tacos? No, I don't want tacos. How about pizza? Had that last week. Subs, too many carbs. Luckily, I don't have to deal with that. My wife is amazing. And we don't have the typical tropey kind of conversations like that. It's typically a, what do you want? How about this? Sold. Perfect. Let's go. Typically between whoever asks a question, the other one will come up with the answer. And it works that the other person goes, wow, that was a deal. I didn't even think of that. Yes, I want Mexican. Thank you. We will get that tonight.
That's an interesting thing because you're dealing with two longtime professional communicators. It's like,
yep.
You just kind of get to the point immediately. If you've ever seen two writers being married, if you've ever seen two musicians being married and things of that nature, it's just kind of. I just get a kick out of the fact that you can. I've dated a couple comics. Wasn't as smooth as that, which is why I'm not married to them.
I can say without a doubt that I was extremely lucky when I found her. She says we found each other. No, I found her and went, oh well, this is that's something special there. I would like to get to know her a little bit more, and then there was this whole plan that was that actually came to fruition where we ended up getting married, which was great. It sounds weird, but there was a plan. And it is weird where, work relationships never work. Well, ours did work. Granted, we weren't in the same building when we worked for the same company, but it did work. And I definitely have been lucky. I definitely got pulled up to her level and then hopefully did not drag her down to my level at all. I've been extremely lucky. She has been the best thing in my life. And we have a kid and he's great for the most part. He's 3. So, he has his moments.
Whoops. Wait a minute. She just DM'd me the word stalker.
Oh boy. That's not, there is. All right. Well, let's go down this road since you brought that up. Sure. Let's talk about this. So I originally did find my wife before I even knew who she was. Mm-hmm. There was not even a competing radio station that in our area, but they came to a venue and they were doing an event. And I just happened to stop by there and they were there. And I went, I wonder who these people are. I've never heard of them. And I looked them up and I went, oh, they're from that part of the state. I wonder why they're here. What's their on-air staff like? And I was scrolling through and I happened to see my wife at the time with her radio name, because a lot of people will use different names than their actual names for being on air. And I went, wow, that's a quite attractive female that they have there. I wonder if I shall meet her one day. And then maybe we'll have a child that's very well spoken. Speaking of water painting, and then years later, her company ended up buying my radio stations, and then I went, holy crap! This is the girl. The production director here is the girl that was for that station on the air. Wow, that's weird. And so yeah, I inadvertently stalked my wife before knowing her, just while figuring out why this other radio station was in my area. And I told her that, and she was like, oh, wow, you are a stalker. Weird. Why did you wait to tell me after we were married? You should have told me earlier.
Whoops, another DM just came in. Says, finally the truth. Okay, that's good. Well, she concurs.
You're welcome, honey.
It's just an interesting thing because it's weird. I've met a lot of the people I've spoken to, podcasters, have found a super great, this awesome spouse that gets it. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't expecting that, because I know how sometimes these things can become labor intensive. Things that are labors of love also tend to be labor intensive. And sometimes the spouses are like, listen, you already do radio, damn it. That's all you're doing. Pod nothing. You get to the house and that's it. Because I've had that where she's like, listen, You get 3 open mic nights a week. That's it. And shut up and get to the house. I've heard that.
I've been in relationships like that, and I have witnessed that with other friends and family in relationships like that. And again, I'm extremely lucky. Not only does my wife understand the main job of radio, but she understands me being involved with podcasting with my friends with the Neatcast and through Effing Cultured, and now Podcasters Assemble, and then doing one-off stuff with other random guests here or there. She gets it, and she likes it because it's something that I'm passionate about, and I'm going to do something. And she has her own things, like she loves playing softball, and she plays in a completely different part of the state where she works. And when we're each at our jobs, we're about an hour away because we drive 2 completely different directions from our home. So on those days, I'm driving an hour over to pick up the kid, and then 40 minutes back to the house so that she can go play softball and not have to worry about it. But that's awesome because that's her passion, and she loves it so much that I want her to go and do that because that makes her happy. And I get to do that with podcasting. And at least I think she, has that feeling. Maybe she could just be like, whatever, get in there so I can go watch Handmaid's Tale. I don't know. That could be what she's doing right now. But she gets it, and she's incredibly supportive. And I don't let my other passions and interests interfere with family time, because we always put that first, that we're going to do other extracurricular activities, but we're going to still be a family, and we're still going to do things together. She's also a wedding DJ, so she's going to go off and do a wedding this weekend. She loves doing it. It's another form of income. So I get to spend, the weekend with the kid. I'm fine with that. She gets to go out and do her thing. We'll hang out here. We'll have a guy's weekend. That'll be great.
Okay, I'm going to give you 30 seconds.
Oh, no.
To say lots more nice things about your wife. 1, because she deserves it. And 2, because you now know she's very, very proficient with swinging a baseball bat.
Oh, yes. That is one of the good things that she's very good at. 1, she is far better at radio than I am. Far better. Like, her voice is amazing with her voiceover work. She's beautiful. She's gorgeous. That's where the good looks of our child comes from. I have no hair. This is what I have to work with. My kid got her good genetics, and then I have toes that do this so I can climb trees. So that's what he got from me. She's incredibly caring, devoted, talented. Did I mention that she's beautiful? I probably did, but I'm going to say
no, you didn't say anything about that yet.
Really? She's gorgeous. Love her. And she's I think the biggest thing is that she's supportive. Yeah, there we go. Is that 30 seconds? Did I hit all the things? I don't know. She was supposed to give me a list. She didn't, or she did. She did give me a list. I forgot it.
Hold on. Okay. She just DM'd it. She said, say I'm beautiful 3 more times because I'm using a bat right now.
Have I mentioned how beautiful my beautiful wife is? So beautiful.
Throw another one and just be safe.
Oh, God, so gorgeous.
There we go. Hold on, DM. Bat is down. Okay, that's good.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, maybe describing your toes, you might want to have your new name be Jack Prehensile.
Yeah.
Zach Prehensile. Why don't you saying? Do people do that? Because you're Zach, they just throw that J on there because it's more common. Do they do that crap? Because I just did that. And I normally don't make mistakes like that.
It'll happen because Jack, I don't know actually that many Jacks, but a lot of people, I guess, do it because they mishear what I say. I don't know. I also have a slight speech impediment, so that might be what happens sometimes when I talk. I used to have a lot of problems with S's and TH's and Z's, and I still hear it when I listen to myself. So I hate listening to myself, even with whether it's a commercial or a podcast, and I'm enjoying hearing the podcast. I hear myself, and we're all our biggest critics. So I always hate listening to myself. But that might be part of it. Or people just go, as you said, Jack, right? Sure, we'll go with that. It's easier.
I'm glad you said that, because the real reason is that for about a half a second, I was an idiot and said the wrong name.
Cover, though. I am personally horrible with names, and I will meet somebody and I have to concentrate on learning their name and remembering their name. So if I'm going to an event and I'm meeting a lot of people, I actually enjoy it, but for the first like 10 or 15 minutes when I'm meeting people, I'm stressing, going, I'm going to remember all these people. I got to remember the names. So when I see them later again, oh God, I got to remember their name. And that happens with the job too. Every once in a while, someone will come up to you and they're talking to you like they know you because they've heard you on radio. And then I have to think, going, are they talking to me because they know me because of radio and they listen? Or do I know them from radio from meeting them? Or do I know them from someplace else? I don't know. Usually faces I can remember and go, I've definitely met this person. May not always remember their name, though. I'm horrible with names.
I tell you right now, if you ever even think of calling me F. Anthony Thomas, I am going to edit this show so It sounds like you said horrible stuff about your wife. It's going to be...
No, sir, I will not be doing that.
I just don't even make that mistake, damn it, because I won't forgive it.
Good thing is it's right here on the screen, so I can see it.
Well, my friend, I just want to thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate you being the person who's the closer for the podcast series. I appreciate it. Tell the people, tell the people where they can find you. I'm going to link your Twitter, because that seems to have all your stuff on there, and your link tree. I'm going to put that on the notes anyway. But if there's anything you want the people to know before you go.
Well, first of all, thank you. You have. I just randomly found you, I think, when you were posting on Twitter going, hey, I'm looking for people to come join me. Let me know. And I was just thinking, I love talking to people. I'll shoot him a message. Maybe he wants to talk to me. And dude, you have an incredible series going. You have so many interesting people, like just having conversations. Kudos to you. I love what you do. That if I ever do like an actual podcast, I think it would be something similar to what you do, or Jeff, who goes under Podcast Father. He does something where he just talks to content creators. That's so much fun. The amount of people that you get to talk to of a variety is awesome. So thank you for doing what you do. I've had a blast. For me, people can tolerate me through Twitter or the link tree, because that really is just where I try to push people just to listen to whether is a podcast that I'm on, or any independent, or not even independent, just podcasting if people are interested in it. So through my Twitter and my link tree, that's where I operate, I guess. So if people want to find me, it's under Zack Deuce through Twitter. And if you check it out, great. If you don't, no worries. Just go and listen to a podcast, rate and review. And if you're still listening to this now, thank you. I appreciate you tolerating me.
And I want to thank you not only for just coming on, but for the kind words. And, if you ever decide to do a show like I'm doing, all I ask that you do is do not become a middle-aged bald black man when you do your show. That's what I'm doing right now, being a middle-aged bald black man. Granted, I'm not technically bald because I shaved my head, but you know what I'm saying.
I can promise you that I can only cap out at 2 out of the 3 of those. If anything happens.
You never know, man. Elon Musk might come up with something.
No, I'm okay. Nope, I'm good. I'm fine. I appreciate that, though.
All right, my friend. Much love to you. And thank you very much for sharing your time with me, my brother.
Thank you. Have a wonderful night.
I appreciate it. All right, everybody. Thank you very, very much for listening to another show. All the new listeners that are coming on, I want to thank you for coming and hanging out. All the people that have been listening to me for the whole time, once again, much love to you all. The family is growing, and I love every last one of you. If you love this show, and you did, do me a favor, rate and review this podcast on whatever podcatcher you're playing. 17 stars, please. Okay? If you haven't subscribed, make sure that you do. And tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend about the podcast, okay? Much love to you all. We'll see you again next time. I appreciate you. I love every last one of yous, and we're going to have more fun in the future. Thank you, and I'll see you next time, my friends. Take care.